You're being told the threat from Iran wasn't imminent. That's the claim Senator Mark Warner just made on national television. In this video, we're going to see why that argument collapses the moment you look at history. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has openly targeted the United States, funded terrorism, and chanted death to America. Yet suddenly, we're supposed to pretend the danger appeared overnight. What we're going to go over is that this debate isn't really about intelligence reports or military strategy. It's about whether politicians in Washington are willing to acknowledge reality. And the record tells a very different story. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to RPW Media. So let's talk about something that happened on Fox News Sunday this weekend. Senator Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, went on Fox News Sunday, national television, and said that the conflict with Iran, that the president didn't actually make the case. Give it a watch.
This is a war of choice, because I can tell you this, Shannon. There was no imminent threat to the United States. Matter of fact, there was not even an imminent threat to Israel. But we've not made the case. The president's not made the case that this was an imminent threat. And we don't know where this is going to end up. I think on a war of choice, I think he chose the wrong time.
All right, so, you could say that on the surface, it sounds kind of reasonable, right? I mean, if you're going to take military action, you should have to explain why, right? But here's the problem. That statement only works if you pretend that the last 47 years never happened. And that's exactly what a whole lot of politicians on the other side in Washington are doing right now. Because if you actually look at the history between the United States and the Iranian regime, the argument that the threat wasn't imminent starts to sound pretty ridiculous. And the moment you rewind the clock back to 1979, the entire conversation changes. But here's the part that almost nobody in Washington wants to say out loud. The conflict between the United States and Iran did not begin last week. It did not begin last year. It didn't even begin during President Trump's presidency. It began in 1979. That was the year that the Iranian revolutionaries stormed the United States Embassy in Tehran and took 66 Americans hostage. 52 of those Americans were held for 444 days, while the new Islamic regime chanted death to America every single time. Now think about that. But even if we don't look back 47 years of constant threats and constant attacks on American citizens abroad, and something like over 1,000 Americans have died at the hands of the Iranian regime one way or another, here is Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, pointing out why there absolutely was an imminent threat from the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism, who has said for 47 years that once they get the bomb, they're going to use it on the United States. Give it a watch.
Now to one of your counterparts, your friend across the aisle, Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy. Senator, welcome to the show. So I'll give you a chance to start there with what Senator Warner said. This is a war of choice.
Senator Warner, Shannon is star-spangled brilliant. On this one, he's also wrong. Our intelligence clearly showed that Iran had taken baby steps to restart its nuclear program.
Exactly.
It was producing between 200 and 600 new missiles a month.
A month,
its
guys.
Plan was
200 to 600 missiles a month. Eventually, they would have so many of these ballistic missiles that you can't stop them. How would you be able to go in and stop them if they had that many ballistic, if they had a plethora of ballistic missiles all over the country? That's what their goal was to do.
To stockpile enough missiles so that it could destroy the Middle East if we went back in to destroy its nuclear
So that's an imminent threat right there.
That's why I say President Trump he's not trying to start a war, he's trying to prevent a war.
Right.
He tried negotiating with the Ayatollah.
Democrats forget this.
The Ayatollah said no to everything except lunch. What's our plan? I'll tell you what our plan is. We all heard it in the classified briefing. Our plan is to destroy the Iranian Navy, destroy the Iranian Air Force, destroy their facilities through which they're making missiles and drones, destroy the infrastructure for the Revolutionary Guard and other parts of their military. We're going to turn parts of Iran, those who are enemies, into fish food, and then get out.
Exactly, and then get out. Now, the Democrats are just using this as a talking point for political points because they know that things are shaky with the midterms. According to history, they should have it in the bag, but they just lost 8 points that they had an advantage on since January. And now that advantage is gone, which they're pretty panicking right now. And so they'll say anything to Trump trash and to Trump the Republicans. They know darn right well that there was an imminent threat. I mean, imagine if another country held American diplomats hostage today for more than a year and openly calling for the destruction of the United States. Would anyone seriously argue that country wasn't a threat? Of course not. But that's exactly what Iran did. I mean, in the 1980s, the Iranian regime began building something that has defined its foreign policy ever since. Terrorist proxy networks all over the Middle East. I mean, groups that carry out attacks while Iran sits back and keeps its fingerprints just far enough away to claim plausible deniability. One of those groups was Hezbollah. And in 1983, Hezbollah carried out the bombing of the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. Remember that? 63 people were killed in that attack, including 17 Americans. Later that same year, another truck bomb destroyed the Marine barracks in Beirut. Do you remember that? That attack killed 241 American service members. 241. Now ask yourself a simple question. If a government supports organizations responsible for killing hundreds of Americans, is that government a threat? Apparently, Senator Warner thinks that the answer is still unclear because according to him, the case hasn't been made yet. But that's only the beginning of the story. Over the next 4 decades, Iran continued building networks of militias and terrorist groups across the Middle East. Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, all of them connected through funding, training, and weapons supplied by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And for years, the United States government has officially classified Iran as the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. That's not a talking point, guys. That's a government designation. So when Senator Warner says that the case hasn't been made, you have to wonder if Warner was born this stupid or did he have to take like an online Udemy course to get there? And as far as not notifying Congress for the Iranian strike, Secretary of State Marco Rubio pointed out to the press that they did notify the Gang of Eight, which was always the group that was notified in the past. But I guess it doesn't count when you're President Donald Trump. But even so, here is law professor Jonathan Turley, also on Fox News Sunday, who pointed something out that makes these whining crybaby Democrats look like the biggest hypocrites in a cesspool of hypocrites. Give it a watch.
But if you're going to initiate war, you need Congress. The president not only did not come to Congress to seek a debate or vote, he acted without even notification to the vast majority of us. This is an illegal war.
Wait a minute. The vast majority of you, there's no way that anyone could notify 535 members of Congress. It was always the Gang of Eight and the top level of both parties. So he's full of crap.
So that was Democratic Senator Tim Kaine on our show last week. The war powers resolutions he backed failed in the Senate this week, as did a similar measure in the House. Joining me now to discuss, constitutional law expert Professor Jonathan Turley. He's got a brand new book out, Rage and the Republic, the unfinished story of the American Revolution. Always good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Congrats on the new book, and we will get to that. But I want to start with the War Powers Act. And listen, you have a very personal round of experience with this. I talked with Senator Warner this morning about Libya, so give us some background on that.
Well, you know, the position of senior Democrats is not just hypocritical, it's now incomprehensible. You have people like Pelosi, Blumenthal, who are expressing revulsion that there was not prior consultation authorization. These are the same people that said that President Obama did not require that authorization for an 8-month war where he attacked the capital city of a foreign country without any imminent threat in an open effort to have regime change. And they green-lighted that and said, you don't have to come to us. And so it's bizarre for them now to say, well, but this is a War Powers Act violation. Trump is in compliance with that act. Look, presidents since Jefferson have been boxing in Congresses over their ability to start wars. I mean, they have a right to initiate combat operations. That's been accepted since the beginning of the Republic. Once you're in those operations, it's very hard to get that cat to walk backwards. But these members are in direct contradiction to their prior positions.
Exactly. Iranian leaders have pursued nuclear technology while publicly calling for the destruction of Israel and chanting slogans against the United States. So what are we supposed to do? Guys, everybody's known for decades that an armed Iran has been considered a major global security threat by both Republican and Democrat administrations for decades. The debate right now is not really about whether Iran became dangerous just last week. The debate is about whether the United States should have confronted this problem years ago, and we didn't. Because from the perspective of many Americans, the threat has been obvious for a very long time, 47 years. And when we watch Washington politicians argue that the case hasn't been made, the American people hear something else entirely. They hear political games. I haven't heard a single Democrat condemn Iran, but they're all condemning Trump. That speaks volumes, guys. So when Senator Mark Warner says that the case hasn't been made, millions of Americans hear something very different. They hear a political argument that ignores 47 years of constant threats. And once you look at this history honestly, the real question becomes something else entirely. Why the hell did it take this long? But there is a bright side. For the first time in a long time, the conversation is finally shifting away from pretending Iran is just another normal country. More Americans are starting to look at the full story. And once people see the pattern clearly, it becomes a lot harder for politicians to pretend the threat never existed. History has a way of catching up with political narratives. And right now, it just might be happening that way. So tell me what you think in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.